A lone trestle bridge erupts in flame, its rails glowing red as Union soldiers race across, bullets nipping at their heels. In the smoke-soaked pines behind them, wounded men vanish into black water and burning palmetto. Florida, known for oranges and sunshine, has just become the Civil War's deadliest killing ground. Tonight, Tallahassee's fate, Lincoln's re-election gambit, and the lives of the 54th Massachusetts hang in the balance. Welcome to Olustee, Florida's deadliest Civil War day. Smoke curls above the longleaf pines of northern Florida. Imagine standing in those woods on February 20th, 1864, feeling the ground tremble as shot and shell crack like distant thunder. Sparks leap between dry palmetto fans, and you can almost smell the gunpowder mixing with pine sap. This backwater rail stop named Olustee is about to witness Florida's largest and deadliest Civil War fight. Now I know what you're thinking. Florida? Civil War battles? For most of us, Florida means Disney World and beaches, not battlefields soaked in blood. But on this cold February morning, nearly 11,000 soldiers, Union blue and Confederate gray, are marching toward a collision that will decide whether Tallahassee stays the last uncaptured rebel capital east of the Mississippi. Picture this forgotten crossroad, where some of the war's most famous black regiments, battle-hardened Texans, and teenage cavalrymen are about to clash in sandy soil. In the next few minutes, we're going to follow the commanders, witness the desperate maneuvers, and watch a brutal retreat that literally set the pine woods on fire. But first, let me tell you why Florida suddenly mattered so much. By 1864, the Union controls most of the Atlantic coast, but Florida is still feeding Confederate armies with beef, salt, and turpentine. President Lincoln has a plan. He believes a quick strike could sever that supply chain and maybe even coax Floridians into forming a new pro-Union state government before the fall elections. Politics and war as always go hand in hand. Major General Quincy Gilmore gets his orders, land troops near Jacksonville, seize the vital Florida Central Railroad at Olustee, and push 90 miles west to Tallahassee. If it works, it'll tighten the Union blockade and boost Lincoln's plan to readmit a loyal Florida on generous terms. Sounds simple enough, right? But Confederate Brigadier General Joseph Finnegan sees the danger coming. With no forts or mountains to hide behind, he scrapes together whatever he can find: Georgia infantry, Florida cavalry, and artillerists fresh from Charleston's siege guns. His plan? Ambush the invaders before they can reach the state's interior. It's a desperate gamble with everything on the line. Union Brigadier General Truman Seymour advances with roughly 5,500 men, and here's where it gets really interesting. He's got New England Volunteers, New York Cavalry, and 3 celebrated United States colored troop regiments, the 8th, 35th, and the legendary 54th Massachusetts. These are the same heroes who charged Fort Wagner. Their confidence is sky high because resistance so far has been almost nothing. Meanwhile, Finnegan is shadowing them along the sand trails like a hunter tracking prey. He picks his ground carefully, a mile west of a stop called Ocean Pond, though locals know it as Olustee. Here's the genius of his choice: a narrow clearing that funnels any attacker into interlocking artillery fields, with pine trunks acting as natural breastworks. It's a killing field disguised as a forest. Seymour has no idea what's waiting for him. On the frosty morning of the 20th, he orders a brisk march. Drummers tap out the cadence. Soldiers joke that they'll be back to Jacksonville in time for supper. The forest is about to silence that laughter forever. At 12:30 p.m., Union skirmishers stumble into rebel cavalry pickets. It's like stepping on a landmine. Within minutes, artillery wheels forward. Guns unlimber, cannoneers ram shells, and the first salvos ripple through the columns. The battle aligns east to west along the rail embankment like pieces on a deadly chessboard. Seymour makes a critical mistake. He commits his regiments piecemeal instead of all at once. The 7th New Hampshire surges ahead, but stalls when their brand-new Spencer rifles misfire from improper ammunition. Can you imagine? All that advanced technology, useless because someone packed the wrong bullets. A deadly gap opens on their flank, and Confederate infantry pounds it with volley after volley. Finnegan, meanwhile, feeds fresh brigades into the line, trading space for time until his full 5,000 men stand shoulder to shoulder. Clouds of white smoke hang in the tree line, turning daylight the color of an old photograph. Battlefield legend says the roar is so constant that deer flee the forest for 2 straight days afterward. By mid-afternoon, the Union Center is buckling like a bent spoon. This is when heroes step up. Colonel James Montgomery's 35th U.S. Colored Troops rush forward to plug the breach, marching past wounded comrades who whisper, "Hold fast." Their dark blue coats draw fire from every gray rifle in range. They're walking into hell with their eyes wide open. Behind them comes Colonel Edward Hallowell's 54th Massachusetts, the heroes of Fort Wagner, moving with the practiced steadiness of men who've seen the elephant before. A war correspondent writes that the regiment passed like a living wall, bayonets level, drums silent. They anchor the line just long enough for the artillery to escape encirclement. But heroism can't overcome math. Ammunition wagons bog down in sand, caissons overturn on pine roots. When cartridges run low, soldiers tear open haversacks looking for captured rounds that don't even fit their muskets. Each minute of resistance buys another minute for the Army's retreat, paid for in blood. At 4:30 p.m., Seymour finally orders a withdrawal east toward the St. Mary's River rail trestle. Engineers splash kerosene on the wooden spans and touch them off as the sun dips low. Flames whip 50 feet high, reflected in black swamp water below like something out of Dante's Inferno. Rearguard batteries unlimber beside the blaze, firing canister to keep the Confederates back. Rebel skirmishers press to musket range but recoil from the heat. Survivors remember the bridge crackling like musketry of its own, showering embers onto wounded men being carried across railroad ties on stretchers. By nightfall, the Union column limps into Jacksonville, minus 1,861 officers and men, over 1/3 of those who marched out that morning. Confederate losses near 946. Strategically, Tallahassee remains in rebel hands for the rest of the war. Lincoln's political gamble in Florida is over. In Washington, the defeat hits like a thunderclap. Northern newspapers headline the casualty list, highlighting that black regiments fought at the forefront. Critics of African American enlistment seize on the losses like vultures, while abolitionist editors counter that the U.S. colored troops stood where others broke. The prisoner exchanges stall, and here's where it gets really tragic. Many captured black soldiers are marched 400 miles to Andersonville, Georgia, where disease and exposure will claim hundreds more lives. Their sacrifice, though underreported, fuels growing support for equal pay legislation in Congress that spring. Finnegan earns a promotion but little strategic reward. His men return to picket duty along sawgrass marshes, short of shoes and ammunition. Olustee becomes the Confederacy's last clear tactical success of the war, but it's too late to alter the South's larger fate. If you walk the Olustee Battlefield Historic State Park today, you'll find marble obelisks, shallow rifle pits, and the faint roadbed of the Florida Central Railroad. Each February, reenactors, black, white, and Seminole, trace the regimental lines, their campfires flickering under the same tall pines that witnessed this carnage. Archaeologists still recover mini balls and belt buckles, mapping troop movements with GPS overlays. Recent ground-penetrating radar revealed an unmarked trench where casualties, likely both Union and Confederate, were hastily buried. Plans for memorial plaques are still under review. The battle's lessons echo through time. Logistics can outweigh bravery. Underestimating local resistance courts disaster, and above all, the courage of soldiers seeking freedom can command history's respect, even when the headlines forget their names. From a tactical perspective, Olustee is a footnote to Atlanta and Appomattox. Yet its pine forests echo with voices that reshaped the Union Army's identity and challenged a nation to honor the service of its newest citizens. When you think of the Civil War, remember not only Gettysburg's ridges but also Florida's flatwoods, where smoke-blackened treetops signaled hope for some and heartbreak for others. Every crossroads, no matter how remote, can tilt the balance of a nation at war. This is History Crossroads. Hit that subscribe button for more forgotten fronts and overlooked moments that forged the world we live in. Until next time, keep your eyes on the past. It still lights the path ahead.